Hello RAM Academy families. We will be walking through a video orientation of SchoolsPLP that you will be enrolled in this coming fall. To access your learning program, please visit the usevs.org website and you will find a quick link underneath Learning Portals for RAM Academy. Once you click that link, you'll be directed to the North Central Ohio ESC. You will be given a username and password, so we will start with looking at a 5th grade class. In a 5th grade class, we're going to walk through each of the different items that will be available to you. We have an overview of each of the classes that this particular person would be enrolled in. You will see on the tab to the right a report card of your student's success. To the right of that, you'll find the daily activities of what assignments that particular student has been working on, when they were active, how long that student was active for, how many lessons that they have finished, and the mastery that has been achieved of each of those particular lessons. You will also see a message tab at the top. We don't have any messages here, but if an instructor sends you a message, you will be forced to acknowledge that message before you can access any of the other information. Let's dive into the class to see what content your student will be learning about over the course of the semester. Here we can see that we have grade 5 mathematics, grade 5 science, and grade 5 language arts. There are two ways that you can access each of these courses. You can click work on this course or click grade 5 mathematics. Clicking grade 5 mathematics, you'll be shown at the top in the green the next assignment that you should be working on. Underneath, you'll see a list of the assignments that you will be completing through the whole semester. When you are finished with an assignment, it will give you what your total score for that assignment was, when you completed the assignment, the number of attempts that you took for that particular assignment, and the amount of time that it took for you to complete that particular assignment. On the right-hand side, the percentage shows you, out of 100% of the assignments, what your weight, what percent is this particular assignment worth. Let's dive into Lesson 1 to see what a 5th grade mathematics lesson would look like. If we click Lesson 1, you will see on the left-hand portion of the page the lesson itself. It starts out and we have some vocabulary terms that will be used throughout this lesson. We will have the content of the lesson that the kids will need to read through or watch videos covering. Now, as they read through this content, if they struggle a little bit with reading fluency, remember that if they highlight the materials and you click the Orbi Speak extension, it will actually read the content for you.
You might look at a number in standard notation like 359 and think it is just 3 whole numbers.
After that student is completed reading through the materials, at the bottom of this particular lesson, there are some questions that the students will have to answer. Now, this particular student has already gone through and answered the questions and has submitted the material by clicking the submit button. If this student wouldn't have done very well, they would have a choice to retake the assignment, and that's where we would come in and we'd click retake right here. Let's take a look at the next class. Let's go to science, and this time let's go into the work on this course instead of grade 5 science. If we click work on this course, on the right hand side you can see all of the different lessons that this student will complete throughout the semester. So we have it broken up into the different units. For the first assignment, they have what is a scientist. Again, we always start out our lessons with our objectives or some vocabulary, and then we will get into the content itself. So as we scroll through, we'll get some information, and remember, it is very valuable to use that Orbi Speak extension if your student struggles with reading fluency. It will speed up the process. They can press play several times until they understand the content that is being given. We have our videos, And then when we get to the very bottom, we should have a review or a little quiz in sense of what is covered on that particular assignment. When they are finished, they would hit the submit all answers, but you can see on this particular one, we have some reading prompts that the student would have to answer. So we have this first one. It says compare and contrast the two pictures, type 3 similarities and 3 differences in the boxes below. Please understand that it doesn't mean literally that you are going to type into these boxes. What that means is that you will come down here into the text editor, and here is where we would click our differences, and we would put in our similarities into this particular text editor. Down below we have again, based on this turtle's body structure, what can you infer about where it lives? So we would not write into this blank, we would write into the text editor our answers for this particular response. I might even recommend if you copy and paste that in, that would make it very easy to type into our spaces from that copy paste what the answer would be, and then when your teacher looks over that, then there would not be any confusion about what information your student is trying to convey to the teacher. So after we have completed each of those 3 boxes, we would click Submit All Answers, but you can see that there is a preventative measure to keep your student from submitting their work before the work is actually completed. So this says that this person has not completed question 4 and 8 through 13. So if we come up, let's put in answers here, and just for time's sakes, I'm just going to randomly click these, filling in our responses so that way we can actually submit it. There we go. And now if we click Submit All, you can see that we're able to submit this assignment. Now this assignment, since it did have reading prompts that the student had to fill in their information, it is not going to give that student a direct percentage on it. That teacher would have to grade the assignment first before they could move on to the next assignment or retake this one. Let's go back to our class list. We've taken a moment and looked at a math lesson, a science lesson. Let's take a peek at a language arts lesson. So language arts, you can see this particular person has made an effort at answering everything in lesson 1. So lesson 1, we had the beginning, as always, objectives and some vocabulary. It might even be a good thing. I know that they have the vocabulary that's written down on the actual screen, yes, but it wouldn't hurt to write those down with paper and pencil as well, so that way the student can easily and quickly go back to the vocabulary terms without having to do a lot of scrolling. So if we move through, you can see that there's going to be a reading passage that the students have to read, and I will remind you one more time that as you go through and read the content, if you struggle with reading fluency, use that Orby Speak extension. It will help out immensely with your language arts. So scrolling through, reading our content, we will find when we get to the very bottom that there will again be a check to see how well the student has acquired that knowledge. We go through and we have our questions that we're going to answer, and at the bottom we have a reading prompt that's going to say, or a writing prompt that's going to say, write a short answer to each of the following questions and submit your answers to your teacher. This is where the student would type in their information and then they would click submit. After the teacher has looked over the material and graded the content, they will issue a grade and we'll be able to see that, and that student would either be able to retake the assignment or move on to the next one. You will notice that if we try to jump ahead, let's say if I want to take a peek at quiz number 1, it's going to tell us that we have not completed this activity yet. So our second activity after lesson 1 is writing and spelling words 5 times. So on a separate piece of paper, what you would need to do is write down your spelling words 5 times each. So we have select, selection, illustration, musician. All of these spelling words on a separate piece of paper would need to be written. What we'll need to do is upload this assignment so that way your teacher can grade this. Now there are 2 ways that we can submit this material. You could have a parent, or if you had a cell phone yourself, you could take a picture of that material and then you could put that picture onto your Chromebook and then you could submit it, or you could submit it using the FaceTime camera on the Chromebook itself. Now what I will do is I will switch over to the Chromebook and we'll take a look at that in terms of how do you submit a picture from a Chromebook's camera. So we'll do that now. After you've completed your spelling words for the week on a separate piece of paper, you'll need to submit this activity. Now to submit this activity, it will require you to use either your parent's cell phone or the camera located on the actual Chromebook itself. So if you're going to use the Chromebook for your camera, on the lower left-hand side, we'll click the launch pad, the arrow up, and you'll want to select the camera. Now, from the camera, you would take your content that you would have, and it's going to disappear for a second. I apologize for this. We would take a picture of this. So I click this button right here on the camera, and what that will show is your material. Now, a suggestion of mine to you, because you're going to have quite a few files that you're going to be taking pictures of, and you'll have material that you're going to need to keep track of, it's to name this. So if we type in the name of this particular activity, that's going to be easier for us to find it. So I type in lesson 1 spelling words, I'll hit return. Now, what I need to do is submit that work to my particular assignment. So we'll close up my camera. We'll click the plus icon here. We'll say attach a file, choose a file, and since we used the camera took images, so we'll go to images and we'll grab that picture that we just took. Click open and upload. Now, that work, again, once you have submitted that work, your teacher will need to look over that and grade it before you're able to advance on to lesson 2. Now that we have successfully uploaded our spelling words for this week, if we notice up at the top it says target due date, it says last Tuesday. See, we're working with a fictitious student inside of grade 5 language arts. When you are enrolled and you are actively in the first quarter of the year, when you click on the actual assignment, so I'll just go down here and choose a random one. We'll say lesson 4. If I click lesson 4, what that will tell me at the top what my due date is. So my due date would be this coming Tuesday for me. If we go down further and I click, let's say our spelling list here, what it's going to do is it's going to tell me that this due date would be September 3rd. So you can easily see what assignments are going to be due and when you should plan some time to complete those. So if I go my spelling quiz 2, what this would be is my next day, 9/4. Let's move on to a different class now. Let's go out of grade 5 and let's hop into grade 7 for a moment. We're going to see something pop up. When you go to grade 5, I said that your messages, if a teacher were to send you a message, that you would have to respond to it. Here, you can see that we logged into this fictitious student right here. And the first thing that popped up was the messages. If your teacher sends you a message, they're going to, in this case, say that it looks like you struggled on the first lesson. Please let me help with any difficulties you're having. You're not going to be able to go to any of the activities until you respond to that teacher. So you could type in a message and send it back to the teacher. I will do so. Or you could simply say acknowledge without replying. Once you've sent a message or acknowledged without replying, now you can go to your overview and get into those different classes. So we have grade 7 language arts. Let's just take a peek at what this first assignment would be. Now the first assignment, you're going to notice that this particular person in their account, that they didn't do so hot. They didn't do so well in that first one. And you notice that it's not a green check mark like our objectives here were, or for the grade 5 class materials that we looked over just a minute ago. If there is a lesson that was not passed, what you would need to do is go back into that particular lesson, read through the material again, and down at the bottom, once you have completed your material, and you can see in this case what questions that we had gotten incorrect, what you can do is go down to the bottom and we can click retake. Now when we retake this, that will give you one more chance at this lesson to improve upon what you had done from the first time. Now, I've said this a couple times, and I really think it would be beneficial to you. If I keep saying it several times, it's going to really help you out. If you are struggling, if you're a person that struggles with reading fluency, what I would recommend you do is highlight your words and then use that Orby Speak to help with following along with the material.
A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun.
The second thing that I would really suggest is, as you are reading through this material, if there's any vocabulary terms, any pieces of information that you find valuable, that you write that down on a separate piece of paper. That will avoid you from having to scroll back and forth, and maybe getting lost in the mix. When you have finished retaking that, you can go down to the bottom and submit all your answers. But let's say that as you are reading through the material, you are finding that you're spending a lot of time on one spot and you're starting to get a little frustrated. Oftentimes, one of the suggestions I have for people when this comes around is that you just have to take a break. Sometimes your brain just needs a little bit of a rest and to get away from it for just a moment. You get away from it for a moment. What you want to be sure of before you take that break is that you click Save and Exit. You do not want to put forth the effort typing in information and then all of a sudden accidentally close the window or move on to something different, and then that work is lost. You always, if you're going to take a break, click Save and Exit, so that way that material you can pick up right where you left off when you get back on with a fresh mind. I hope this has helped in orienting you to what RAM Academy is going to look like for this semester for your online needs. If at any time you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to your instructors by clicking this Send Message and then choose who you would like to ask help from. If there are any concerns, please do not hesitate to contact the school. Okay? Take care.